I'm making an open world voxel survival game with a creative twist that will hopefully allow you to play the game in different ways based on your own imagination. At the start of the year, I set out with the goal of creating a playable demo by the end of the year. And I'm currently about 8 or 9 months into that, and I don't have long left, and I still have a lot to do. I feel like I've overcome some big challenges recently though, so I've changed quite a lot of things, so now it's broken. And that's what this video is about, so enjoy. Have you ever seen an image that's made you want to take it and turn it into a game? Well, that's what happened here, only instead of a single image, it was a whole genre. Voxel art. I kept seeing these really epic worlds that people were creating using voxel editors. It kind of pained me that all of these were just images and not actual worlds that could be explored. So I wanted to take this concept and build a game around it. Now I know what you're thinking, there are already loads of really popular voxel games out there, so what's different about this one? Well, with this one, I wanted to include the power of a level editor within the game. So at any point you can switch into build mode and create giant structures at scale without having to place everything block by block. This seemed like a fun technical challenge, so I got to work on building a level editor.
We've come a long, long way together, through the hard times and the good. I have to celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like I should.
Things were going great up to this point, but then I hit a problem. At this point, the level editor was good enough for version 1, and it was really kind of time for me to start working on actually making this a playable game, because right now it's just another voxel editor. So when I sat down to start working on the game aspect of this, I realized that the idea I had in mind was way too broad in scope for me to actually achieve in the time that I had, which kind of sucked because I'd had all this great progress up to this point and things were going really well, but I didn't have a clear direction of where I was going. You know, this felt awful, to be honest. But yeah, it happens, right? It's part of the journey. So basically sat down and I was like, right, okay, I need to come up with a good idea for this game so that I can start moving forward again. So let me explain what this idea is. The game world will be procedurally generated and will feature a number of unique biomes, each with their own features, NPCs, and resources to collect. You'll get to play with a top-down view, and the game will feature a combat system with different playing styles for different people. At the heart of this will be the voxel building system. This will help you survive the world by creating unique structures with the resources that you collect. The game will feature different elements of survivability. One of the main things will be the day and night system. In the day, there'll be time for collecting resources and exploring the vast landscape. At night, things will get a bit intense and survivability will become the main factor. One of the key elements of this game will be how long you can survive in this world. So yeah, let's get building. So at this point, I'd basically built my level editor. So the first thing I worked on was adding in a build and play mode so you could switch between the two. Then I added a character and controller. For now, the character is completely temporary, it's just one that I took from a previous prototype. I'll come back and add a proper character once I've got some of the core systems working. So after a bit of work, I got it so that you could switch between controlling the character and then using the building system. I implemented some basic camera controls for the player, and now we have the foundation for our play mode. This will do for testing all of the core systems. Next, I added a basic day-night cycle. The lighting in this game is temporary for now, so I'm going to come back and revisit all of this when I'm trying to improve the look and feel of the game. At this point, I'd noticed some really annoying bugs with the building system, so for the second or third time I went back and rebuilt it. This time I got some help from Twitter. I've been following a developer recently who's working on a game with a similar build mechanic. Theirs seemed really smooth, so I reached out to them to ask them for some guidance on how they were achieving this, and they were kind enough to respond to me with a really detailed breakdown of how they're doing it. Essentially, it worked in the same way as mine with raycasting, but it made use of invisible planes as opposed to just casting into the world. This was one simple missing piece of my building system that added so much quality to the game, so I'm super grateful for that. The developer that helped me is working on a game called Earth of Orin, which is a city builder / strategy game that's currently being developed. It's on Steam now, so you can go ahead and check this out and wishlist it if it sounds like something you'd be interested in. So yeah, thanks for the help. So things at this point were going pretty good. I fixed the issues with my building system, added a play mode and a day-night cycle. And then I realized I have one really big issue, and it's something I hadn't really considered. The issue was with the inside of buildings and anything that obstructed the player from view. See, in a traditional game that uses normal models instead of voxels, it's very easy to just hide the ceilings or certain parts of the model when a player goes inside it or behind it. But in the case of a voxel world, where there is no defined walls or ceilings, any block can serve any purpose, and the player can build whatever they like in whatever format they like. And that makes it really hard to actually detect when the player is inside a building or behind a wall. And even when we've detected that, what do we do? For the first time, I was starting to wonder if this game was actually even technically possible to make. The whole idea of having a top-down voxel game with a building system started to kind of raise questions in my head, and it wasn't just a design issue but also a technical one, because I wasn't sure how it would work from a performance standpoint as well. I had ideas around making certain parts of the mesh transparent or hiding certain parts of the mesh depending on the character height and different things like that. But even with that, I still wasn't sure about whether that would perform okay. But nevertheless, I thought I'd try some of these approaches, and yeah, that's what I did. So the idea I stuck with was that when you go inside a building or behind a wall, all of the voxels after a certain point would be invisible. Therefore, you could see through them and you could see the player. And then if the player moves up, then we'll have to readjust that based on a certain threshold. So if the player goes up some stairs, for example, that'll have to be readjusted and we'll have to redraw the chunk. There's a few edge cases I'm not sure of at this point, but that's the plan. We'll see how it works. So now it's working, but it's lagging really bad when I enter and leave buildings because of all the work it's doing to re-render the chunk. Not sure yet how we can get around this one. I've changed quite a lot of things. Now it's broken and it's lagging. Like if I click, it... So ceilings work, but the one thing I haven't accounted for at this point is walls. If you walk behind a tall building, you still can't see your character. I also realized a big flaw with the ceiling detection. Because we're raycasting up to see if anything's above the player, if there's a big hole in the ceiling for whatever reason, maybe a staircase, it doesn't detect the ceiling and all of a sudden you can't see the player. With that and the wall detection, I basically ripped out the code I'd written so far and rewrote it.
I have to celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like I should.
So at this point, things were going pretty well with the game. I was back on track of making progress. I had some of the core systems implemented. I could switch between player and build mode. I could walk around the world, go inside of buildings, decorate the interior buildings, which is something that I couldn't do before. It works okay. There are still a few small issues here and there that I need to work out, but I'll come back to those. I think for now, it's a good baseline for getting it to a sort of playable demo. The priority for me right now is trying to get all of the other systems implemented to a playable standard so that I can actually test the game to see if that's actually going to be fun, because there's not much point perfecting every individual system until I know the game's actually going to work as a whole. So the next focus for me is going to probably be on adding the rest of the world and also adding some NPCs and combat and all of the things that are going to make the actual core game loop, so the actual survivability within the game. So yeah, so hopefully the next few devlogs will be quite fun. Anyway, that's enough for me rambling on. Thank you, everybody. I hope this was enjoyable. I'll try and make many more in the near future. And yeah, thanks. Bye.